one day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. And one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. And one day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. And one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Glory. Oh, glory. Yeah, glory. Oh, glory. Yeah.
This month means everything to me because there's so much to celebrate. There's so much to learn. There's so much to rejoice in. There's so much that even as a Black male educator, as an entrepreneur, as a minister of the gospel, there is such a responsibility that I feel and a surge of excitement that I get during this month, because it's also the opportunity to teach and to show others that our history did not begin with us in chains. The history of Black people is extensive. It started long before slavery, and history is still being made even right now. Slavery was just an interruption to our progress, but our progress will never stop, because even despite all that we've had to endure, we are still progressing, we are still advancing, we are still growing, we are still thriving. For me, this means that I get to dig deep into my history and be able to pour all that I've learned into the students that I teach, and know that as a Black man, that when we gather together as men to empower and build each other up, we should not be perceived as a threat. We are a people that has a potential, that have gifts, that have purpose, that our identity and where we are going is greater than how the world has treated us. That's what this month means to me.
For history tells us that while these truths may be self-evident, they have never been self-executing. That while freedom is a gift from God, it must be secured by His people here on earth. The patriots of 1776 did not fight to replace the tyranny of a king with the privileges of a few or the rule of a mob. They gave to us a republic, a government of and by and for the people.
I often think about what our ancestors would say if they were still alive. I often think about what Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, and many of the leaders of our rich history, what they would be saying right now if they were alive. And to be honest, I really think the messages would be the same. Why? Because many of the problems still exist. They've just taken on a different face and a different form. And it's sad that a lot of what our ancestors fought for, we're still having to fight for right here in our very own country that we helped build. In this country, I think they would be saying, in the words of Dr. King, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Rioting is the language of the unheard. And there are greater ways that we can go about affecting change. But we can't do it individually. It takes the collective actions, the collective voices of Black people everywhere and people in general to recognize the problems of our time, how they plague us now, and how they still divide us even to this day. And realize that we all have a responsibility. Our ancestors fought for the right for us to vote. Not just the right for us to vote, but the right to gather together in public places and not be perceived as a threat, or to drive down a highway and not be perceived as a threat or doing a crime because of how our vehicle looks, or mainly because of the color of our skin. I think right now, the leaders of our past would have the same messages today as they had so many years ago.
There will come a time when Black people wake up and become intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, as other humans are intellectually independent enough to think for themselves. Then the Black man will think like a Black man, and he will feel for other Black people. And this new thinking and feeling will cause Black people to stick together.
When I think about what I would like to see more of in our Black community, I would like to see more Black history curriculum inserted into our schools, and us not just settling for what we have there in front of us alone. Our students need to feel empowered. They need to know their identity. Our Black boys and Black girls need to understand who they are through the lens of what we're teaching them. And they cannot achieve what we're asking them to achieve if we don't empower them. If we don't breathe life into the curriculum, how are they going to feel inspired that they can excel in it? As a Black male educator, every day, I incorporate Black history facts and Black history projects for my students to work on. Every day we learn about a different fact. We learn about a significant event that happened in history. Every day we learn about a black leader or a figure or an inventor or someone that helped advance our society. And what I love, what brings me joy, is to be able to see my students be able to tell me what they learned. And because there's so much that is not taught in our schools, there's so much that's not taught in our curriculum, like Black Wall Street, how in Tulsa, how there were multiple Black entrepreneurs and we had a thriving businesses that were there, but eventually destroyed because of hate, because of racism. Where are the lessons about rulers such as Mansa Musa, who was a ruler of Mali in 1312, and also the richest Black individual, or the richest individual period that ever lived? Where are the lessons? What are we learning? How are we empowering each other? Also, I believe that we need to teach each other how to use our unique gifts, talents, and abilities to create more businesses, to create opportunities for each other, because true freedom is also economic freedom. How are we holding not only workshops, but holding forums, also opening different types of schools that can empower and teach people how to use these entrepreneurial gifts to advance their society? Because everybody has a gift of genius living on the inside of them. It's a matter of tapping into it. So as a Black community, when we say, hey, I think we should support each other and come together more, what does that look like though? Because we can say that we need to support each other all day and still not know how to build an infrastructure where we truly model what that support looks like. Education, character, identity, and entrepreneurial advancement are keys to our forward movement.
Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
If I were sitting here right now with any of my ancestors or any of the great Black figures that we often study about, I would say 2 words: thank you. Thank you for all that you endured. Thank you for all that you persevered through. Thank you for all that you fought for so that I would even have an opportunity to advance. Thank you to the great ancient African kings who built cities, who built structures, who built universities. Thank you for our rich history. To our inventors, thank you for the contributions and the inventions that you gave. Thank you for the light bulb. Thank you for the traffic light, Garrett A. Morgan. Thank you for the shoe machine, Jan Matzeliger. Thank you, Frederick McKinley Jones, for refrigeration. Thank you, Benjamin Banneker, for designing Washington, D.C. and for the invention of the clock. Thank you, Lewis Howard Latimer. I would say thank you to all of our civil rights leaders. Thank you that I can now go and register to vote and not be asked a lot of questions about whether I'm qualified or not as a hindrance. Thank you. Because you did, I can.
I need everybody to repeat after me. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary.